The Philadelphia Eagles trade involving safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson was meant to be a bold move that would give the franchise a much-needed financial boost, while adding an intriguing offensive line prospect in Kenyon Green. But just a few months into the deal, it's safe to say things are not going according to plan. In fact, the trade could already be backfiring on the Eagles in a big way. At the core of the trade was Gardner-Johnson's hefty cap hit, which had become an issue for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. Despite being one of the top safeties in the league, Gardner-Johnson's financial demands were too much for a team that needed to clear space for its future moves. The Eagles' front office, led by General Manager Howie Roseman, was looking for some breathing room in terms of salary cap space, and trading Gardner-Johnson seemed like the answer. The trade itself wasn't just about salary, however. The Eagles also acquired Kenyon Green, a former first-round pick from the Houston Texans, hoping that he would be the immediate answer to a growing need on the offensive line. Green, drafted with high expectations, was seen as a young player with a ton of upside, making him a nice piece to add to the Eagles' roster. On paper, it seemed like a win-win situation: gain cap relief while adding a potential starter to an area of need. However, reality has been far from the expectations. Instead of immediately stepping into a starting role, Green has been relegated to a backup role during the Eagles' off-season practices. Throughout the early off-season workouts, Green was mostly seen working with the second and third team units, filling in at right guard, a far cry from the immediate starting impact the Eagles were hoping for. What's even more concerning is that Green's performance has not been eye-catching in any way. He has failed to stand out in a positive light and often appeared to be a step behind players like Tyler Steen, who has been competing for that same starting spot. It's important to acknowledge that this is still early, and there may be more to the story than just what's been seen during workouts. This is Kenyon Green's first offseason with the Eagles, and as any player would attest, adapting to a new system and technique is no easy task. Green is learning a new offensive scheme, and as with any transition, there's a period of adjustment. Offensive line play requires significant chemistry and understanding of a team's blocking schemes, and that takes time. It's possible that Green just needs more time to adjust to the speed and complexity of the Eagles' system. There's also the fact that Green still has an entire month to prove himself before the start of training camp. For offensive linemen, training camp is where battles are won and positions are solidified. The Eagles might be holding out hope that Green will show more promise once he has more opportunities to prove his worth. However, there are growing concerns about the level of competition he'll face, especially given that he hasn't been able to secure a top spot on the depth chart yet. Still, it doesn't change the fact that the trade for Green and the decision to move on from Gardner-Johnson has raised a lot of questions about the Eagles' long-term strategy. Moving Gardner-Johnson, who was not only a fan favorite but one of the most productive safeties in the league last season, was a bold call. While his cap hit was undeniably large, his impact on the field last season was undeniable. Gardner-Johnson was a crucial part of a defense that came within a hair's breadth of winning the Super Bowl. Moving him for an unproven offensive lineman who is struggling to get first-team reps feels like a questionable decision at best. For all the praise Howie Roseman has received for his role in constructing the Eagles roster, there's no denying that he has made some head-scratching trades over the years. While he's certainly had his share of success, such as drafting stars like Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith, his track record with trades isn't as flawless. In fact, the early results from the Green acquisition suggest that this trade may fall squarely into the bad football move category. Gardner-Johnson's departure, while financially motivated, is beginning to look like more than just a cap-clearing move. The Eagles didn't just give up a highly productive player, they also lost a locker room leader and a fiery personality who brought a certain swagger to the defense. Moving on from him, especially for a player who has yet to prove himself on the field, feels like a misstep that could come back to haunt the franchise. So where do the Eagles go from here? The hope is that Green will continue to develop and eventually become the player they envisioned when they made the trade. But at this moment, the trade looks increasingly like a gamble that may not pay off. The Eagles are a team with championship aspirations and a questionable decision.